Well, welcome back. This is the fourth of 9 videos looking at the political frame, and during this particular video we're going to focus on conflict within organizations, and then we'll look at a case study from India. So let's start off with conflict within organizations, and what you have here is kind of a compare and contrast between the structural frame and the political frame. So if you look at it from the structural frame, conflict is something to be avoided, is something to engineer out because rationality is king. From the political frame perspective, conflict is normal, inevitable, and is something to be managed, not avoided. This second kind of point, hierarchical conflict, raises the possibility that lower levels will ignore or subvert managerial intent. And if you look over on the right side, resources are in tight supply, and individuals compete for jobs and titles and prestige. And so a very different kind of perspective here, one of which is we can engineer the right structure, okay, so that everybody aligns, so there's no conflict, so that managerial intent is implemented by the operating core. Whereas in the political frame, hey, none of that's going to happen because resources will always be in short supply, and people are going to compete within a particular company. Finally, there's this kind of underlying assumption of the structural frame that conflict, especially among major partisan groups, but really even among figures in authority, can undermine leadership. Whereas you have the exact opposite from the political. Conflict is something to be encouraged because it can lead to creativity and innovation and accountability. So again, when you look at this, these are two very different perspectives. Is one right or one wrong? No, both of them are right. And so when you look within a company or an organization, there's the ability to reframe, to shift from the structural frame to the political frame, and to use that reframing to the advantage of the organization. All right, well, let's take a moment now and pause and talk about Aruna Roy. Aruna Roy led in India, led the effort to build the National Right to Information Act, and her principal charge, she was trying to she was trying to limit corruption in Indian politics. And so, you know, she formed a series of coalitions, and these series of coalitions ultimately led to this act being passed pretty much against the intent of those in politics at the time, because that's how things are done in India. There's a fair amount of corruption in terms, and a fair amount of bureaucracy, and the technocrats have a lot of power, and part of that power leads to higher pay for them via corruption. And she was successful in getting this passed. The video is well worth the watch, and it again kind of highlights what you can do starting really at a baseline level and working up to change an entire nation. Well, very cool. All right, well, that brings us to the end of this kind of short video. We looked at conflict in organizations and looked at it from a structural frame, and then looked at it from a political frame, and did a kind of compare and contrast. And then we talked briefly about the story of Aruna Roy, and I highly recommend the video that is in the presentation. It's also linked from the course website, of course. What we're going to do next lesson is get into the how. We're going to get into political skills and talk about the 4 political skills that everyone should possess, and how to use those political skills. So should be a great video. So study hard, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.